Cam Ward is slinging it down in Nashville, and Jayden Daniels is trying to get it figured out in Washington. We'll discuss those two young quarterbacks here today on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open, and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, yeah, it's Friday, man. Welcome into the barbershop. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the barbershop here on Locked On NFL, and he's my main man, Matt Williamson, who joins me each and every Friday. And today's show is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/locked-on. That's ODOO.com/locked on. Much ado about nothing but talking about football here in the barbershop. We're going to get to it right now and let you know what we're going to talk about. LA 2 times in the third segment, right in the middle. New York. Woo. I'm intrigued about what we're talking about. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about two young quarterbacks to start the show, Cam Ward and Jayden Daniels. First of all, Matt, hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Now that we got that out of the way, here's Tyler Rowland, because I gotta wake you up because you know he's gonna come through with it. Here's Tyler Rowland, man. Talk about Cam Ward. Watch out, buckle your seatbelt.
Cam Ward bounced back at Tennessee Titans mandatory minicamp on Tuesday, and that is exactly what we were all hoping to hear. All reports indicate multiple touchdown passes, playmaking, sidearm throws, connecting with Gunnar Helm, Carnell Tate, Wan'Dale Robinson, lighting it up out there. There was a late interception to Amani Hooker, but don't let that spoil what was overall a good day, a lot more good and then bad. And I thought that it was hilarious that Cam Ward's bounce back day came immediately after both his head coach, Robert Saleh, and his offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, really backed him and added the context that I've been trying to add for over a week now about all the newness and about this being a time for mistakes and learning. And really when you get into training camp is the time to kind of tighten things back up and try to really be your best. But right now you're just trying to figure everything out, along with everything being brand new for Cam Ward, the coaching, the system, the teammates, all that. It all made sense to add context and not freak out. So shout out to Cam Ward going through all that he's going through right now, probably hearing all the nonsense and all the noise and responding with an excellent practice on Monday. The Titans are back out on the practice field tomorrow for another mandatory minicamp, but I'm going to break down everything you need to know from the first session on tonight's Locked On Titans podcast. Make sure that you head over to YouTube and meet me there.
You better hurry up and get over there, because if you don't, he's going to yell at you and tell you, you need to get over here. No, that's my man Tyler. That's why we had to jump right into it, because if you weren't woke, dog, you woke now. But to hear what he's saying is, I heard him, man, and I get it, because I go to these practices just like you do, man. But he sounded like they had pads on when he was doing all of this stuff. Right. Hey, man, what's going on with Tyler, man?
So what he didn't mention, in case our listeners don't know, is there's been a lot of negative reports on Ward. He's struggling at minicamp. He's struggling at OTAs. That didn't bother me one bit. He's throwing to a bunch of new receivers, a totally new offensive system. He's in his second year, and all eyes are on him. Okay. But, of course, this is a good report. And, frankly, I know we're going to talk about Jayden Daniels here in a minute. I'm not worried about either one of these. I'm going to still call them prospects. They're still young players. They're not out of the woods in the quarterback world yet. I more worry about their situations. I think both these guys have to carry the team more than I'm comfortable with, but I also think they're capable. I'm still buying a lot of Cam Ward stock right now.
I'm buying it too. I'm definitely buying it. And one of the things that Tyler said was Cam Ward is back. Well, he ain't gone nowhere yet. It's 1 year. But the lesson in this is, after one season, Jayden Daniels had a little bit of a down year after being the darling of the league, rookie of the year, getting the team into a deep run into the playoffs. So we might hear people in Washington say he's back. And when he's back this year, he's going to be back running a new offense with some new wrinkles and some new motion, and that makes a certain wide receiver very, very happy. Here's my man David Harrison from Locked On Commanders. Tell you how.
Wide receiver Terry McLaurin talked to us about that, said that the creative multitude of formations, use that word again, stacks, motions, route combinations that they're installing here in this OTA period is really going to force defensive backs on the other side of the ball to respect every level of the field. You can't just play this team deep and say, well, this is air raid. They like to throw deep shots. Go ahead and do that. Well, that's Deebo Samuel. He can only really run those short routes, so we only got to guard that. No, you're going to use all of these things to your ability, all of these things to maximize the ability to affect. Really, you're going to hear people talk about the 3 levels of the offense, right? Short, intermediate, deep. But I've always said it's 4 levels. You got the backfield as well, whether it be screens, bubble screens, those types of things. And that's where a guy like Rachaad White, like we've talked about, could really make some money in this offense.
Yeah, man. New wrinkles, no Cliff Kingsbury, a little bit more motion, a little bit more less predictability, and him being up under center. Do you expect Jayden Daniels to bounce back and be the quarterback this year that everybody expects?
Yes and no. By the way, I liked how he said that 4-level aspect to an offense, because I do think that is important. And we're seeing a lot more guys, wide receivers included, aligning in the backfield and doing stuff behind the line of scrimmage. Again, I just don't think they have good enough playmakers. I'm fine with McLaurin, but he's not a young receiver. I bet Ayuk ends up there, but I have no idea what to expect from him. I don't think the running backs and tight ends are particularly strong either. I'm not, super big on McConkey or the kid they drafted, Williams, to really be a target earner. So I just think we might go into the offseason. By the way, I think it's a very underrated and excellent offensive line, and it doesn't get talked about enough. But I bet we go into the offseason going, man, we asked too much of Daniels. We got to find the next number 1 receiver for him, whether that's a tight end or wide out to be the heir apparent to McLaurin. And I could see that being a long year, but I do like the wrinkles offensively.
Yeah. And you and I were talking a little bit before about Tony Baselli here in Jacksonville. There are 2, you mentioned that offensive line. There are 2 dudes, and this is before Baselli. This is when Baselli was still doing radio, before he took over as EVP. Brandon Coleman and Sam Cosmi, I stood on the table and begged the Jaguars brass in the past. They weren't listening to me. I did it on a podcast. Yeah. I wanted both of those dudes. It turns out they're pretty damn good for Washington. But I think Dan Quinn, this is one thing about coaching in a city like that. They love you when you're doing good, but when it goes bad, okay, they'll say, all right, now they'll give you another year. I think Dan Quinn is going to be on the hot seat as much. He's one of the nicest, most engaging, straightforward people that I've ever met in person when he was just a visiting coach here. So I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah.
I've got some roots in DC. I'm pulling for him, but I know how that crowd works up there, man. They got a new stadium deal approved, and they love Jayden Daniels. The first person is going to get blamed if this thing doesn't get right back to where it was in year 1, and that might be unfair, is going to be their head coach.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, if you are a Commanders fan, you got to taste finally, after the dismal Daniel Snyder era of, oh, man, we got a quarterback, we got a coach. This is going to be fun. We got far in the playoffs. But I do think his seat's warming up quick.
It sounds like somebody hits the lottery and they don't have a good financial advisor.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. And it's like, oh God, where's all my money? Well, we tried to tell you needed to put some of that stuff away real quick. Let me ask you something. Whose fans have a better taste in their mouth about the future at the end of this season, Washington or Tennessee?
I think Daniels is well beyond Ward at this moment. I like both a lot. But I think Tennessee's coaching situation will be firmer when the season ends. So I'll go with the Titans.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's look at New York, man. New York, the city of champions. Congratulations to the New York Knicks, Mike Brown, Jalen Brunson, Spike Lee. We act like Spike scored some points, but Spike Lee and all of the people. The last time they won a championship, I was 5 years old. I'm going to be 57 here in a couple of weeks. But there's a little jealousy. I heard the Jets are like, it was all tongue-in-cheek, just like, hey, man, we're a little jealous of this attention. Well, do something about it. They got a couple of players in this year's draft that I really, really like in Omar Cooper and Kenyon Sadiq. Talk about Sadiq and his unique ability. And hear John Butchko say something that I kept hearing people say about Kyle Pitts. He could be the best receiver in the NFL. Okay, we'll get to it. We'll talk about Malik Nabers too and why the Giants shouldn't rush him back. We'll get to New York in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focused on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal, and that's true in sports just like it is in business. Imagine a pass rush without the benefit of a secondary that works with them, or vice versa. You're going to have trouble, and you ain't going to ever get that team off the field. You don't have that trouble with Odoo, man, because the adjustment itself is the most important part. Game planning decisions and strategy shifts improve results. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should go to Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Let's hit up that Everydayers Club, man. If you want a little bit more, join the Everydayers Club. The link is in the description of this podcast and of your favorite podcast here on the Locked On NFL Network. What you get are ad-free shows that go out to our audio partners. That's one. You get to have some discourse with other members of the Everydayers Club. That's two. And it's all for as little as $5 a month. You get access to our Locked On branded merchandise that everyone always asks me about, but you can't get it unless you're a member of the Everydayers Club. So make sure you tap into the Everydayers Club. It ain't every day that we get to call the New York Knicks champions, the city of champions. Those people are parading. That's going to put a little bit of a burden on those two football teams up in that area, because they're going to have the Yankees have done all right, maybe not in recent history, but we ain't going to talk about the Mets. But anyway, New York is a city that when they win, that is like it's like Notre Dame. If you're going to win there, that's the best place for you to win. So the Jets are this team that it hasn't done much winning on or off the field, but I do think they did win off the field this year when it comes to the NFL draft. One of those players that they picked, he was the second of their 3 first-round picks, is Kenyon Sadiq. I want you to hear John Butchko let something fly out of his mouth that I'm going to sit here and talk about as soon as you get back. Watch this.
And then the big wild card is Kenyon Sadiq, because Sadiq has the physical tools to potentially be the best tight end in the NFL. You've heard all about his record-breaking combine. You've heard about like his just incredible movement skills, his speed, his ability to accelerate, his ability to change directions, all done at like a size that just it's really difficult to believe the athleticism. There are a lot of the more nuanced things that Sadiq needs to learn. That's route running. Route running isn't just about making sharp cuts. It's also about kind of setting up defenders. It's like when you got speed, you don't go at the top gear all the time. Sometimes you want to slow someone. Sometimes you want to go relatively slow to kind of lull the defender into a false sense of security, then blow past him. And these are the things like Sadiq's got to learn. And if he can learn them quickly, it could change the Jets' offense, because Sadiq has the tools to potentially be a go-to guy in the NFL.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't think you were a big fan of this choice for the Jets, considering where they are as an organization. It was somebody I do a show with that was like, I like him, but not for them. Listen, the best tight ends are guys you didn't expect when they got drafted. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Antonio Gates. These are people that Gronk, nobody was higher than a second-round pick. Now you turn it around, you look at Kyle Pitts, O.J. Howard, Vernon Davis, all physical freaks at that position, and none of them turned out to be as good as we thought.
I didn't have a problem with the pick, but I lean the way that you're discussing this too. Jason Witten, we can go on and on and on of guys that just understand spacing and setting people up. And he mentioned that when we was talking about, learning how to decelerate and changing route tempo. Because if you look at Sadiq at Oregon, boy, he can really run, and he's impressive in a Vernon Davis-like manner. And people don't remember Vernon Davis. He could fly.
Yeah.
But you also have to scheme him up to some degree too. He's not just lining up next to the tackle, getting off press coverage and sitting down in zones and presenting a big target to his quarterback. That might come, but it's not as easy as you think. There's a reason tight ends start slow and fade away slow.
Look, They just re-signed Tippmann. They drafted two bookend tackles in Mimbo and then Fashanu, I believe that's his name, or the kid from the Penn State kid. And they've hit on those dudes. Mm-hmm. If it's me, I play behind my offensive line and hand that ball to Breece Hall, and then you can find the mismatches with Garrett, with Omar Cooper. I think the last person of all those people I'm thinking about is Kenyon Sadiq. So that means I wonder why they picked him at that position, because all the great tight ends are guys that turned out to be dudes that look at Trey McBride. Nobody picked him in the first round. You know, those athletic tight ends that can be like wide receivers sometimes will get you in a world of trouble when you expect them to be wide receivers, but you need them to actually be tight ends who can do inline blocking and do some of the dirty work. So muscles don't help you do that. What helps you do that is knowing all of those things that Butchko says he needs to be learning. So I wouldn't even put the word best in a situation with him. The best pass catcher across town, or maybe across the bridge, but we're going to stay in New York, for the New York Giants will be Malik Nabers. Might be the most talented wide receiver John Harbaugh has coached. Shout out to Anquan Bolden, my bad dog, but this dude was picked in the top 5 of the NFL draft. I don't think they need to rush him back. Might not be a need to rush him back knowing Harbaugh, because he loves the ground and pound. Here is Patricia Traynor from Locked On Giants.
Well, I appreciate the updates that the Giants are trying to give about Malik and answering the questions. To put a percentage on the kid and say he's about 70 to 80% of the way through, I don't know if the kid necessarily needs that pressure. Don't say, oh, as of mid-June, he's 80% of the way through his rehab, because then you would expect over the next several weeks, he should be 90, 95%, if not closer to 100% to being back. And if he's not back, then you can look stupid for putting that percentage down. So believe it or not, this is one area where I can agree with Brian Dable about not putting percentages on or predicting when a guy was going to be back, because you put pressure on the guy to meet that expectation. So that being said, Malik Nabers, he's always said it. He said, when I'm ready, I'm ready. And whether he's ready for the start of training camp, which again, I don't think will be the case, or week 1 or week 5 or whatever, when he's ready, let him be 100% ready, both physically and mentally, to come back and be the Malik Nabers that we have all come to appreciate.
Listen, I am in total 100% agreement with Patricia. Bear with me a little bit here, Matt. Doug Peterson in the, I think it was in his second season, came out and goes, yeah, Preston Taylor's going to be the full-time play caller this year. Turns out a coach on that staff and someone who had coached with Doug when he was in Philly says he didn't do anything different that year than he'd always done in his career, and what Andy had did to him and Bieniemy and all of these other dudes that Andy worked for. First 20 plays, I got it. After that, during the ebb and flow of the game, when I start coaching, you take over. And then if I need to get back on the horn, I'll get back on the horn. Nothing changed from year 1 and year 2. But because he said it, every time something went wrong, fans latched on to it. And I tried to tell them, don't be blindsided thinking that all they need to do is fire Press Taylor. This is a Doug Peterson issue. This is a Trent Baalke issue. And to me, Doug did that to take a little bit of the heat off of himself, and he gave the fans TMI. I think it's TMI to talk about percentage of injury, because now 80%. And every time, where is he at? Is he at 90%? Maybe Malik is 93%. And then when he drops the ball, maybe he ain't got that other 5%. Don't ever give fans information that they don't need. And it might be a damn HIPAA violation when you think about it.
Right. And then just like any rehab, it's not always going to go better. Like, what happens if he gets to 80% and then the next week you're like, oh, he's back down to 75? Oh, no. You know, I mean, like, and frankly, it's bothered me since I've been in this business. I don't need percentages on injuries. That's not how doctors think. That's not how that works. I mean, I've been in team meeting rooms when the doctor comes up and talks about this guy's knee. I mean, he's not like, oh, it's 62%. That's not how they work. There's no reason to bring that up.
No, it's not. It's about where he is. And it doesn't mean that because of time, he's going to get to where someone else is. I'll give you a case in point. When Willis McGahee had the knee injury of all knee injuries, that we had never seen anything like that. And they said, he's going to come back quicker than you think. And he actually did. He actually did. And he got drafted in the first round by the Bills. I think it was number 24. They said that the reason why he was able to rehab so quickly was because he was insanely in shape. And Willis McGahee was an him, Fred Taylor, Adrian Peterson. They're just dudes that are just built a certain way. They said he recovered quicker because of his pre-injury physical conditioning. Everybody doesn't have the same healing because they don't start with the same thing. So putting a percentage on this, I think it was a mistake. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to do some shows where that percentage is going to be brought up. And I'm going to bring this back up. I say, see, Matt, I told you that's a mistake for them to be talking about. Come on, Harbaugh, you got to do better. We're going to talk about his brother, who seems to be doing better. It's going at a slow pace, but it's still going at a pace. We'll talk about Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. And then we'll hang around there in LA just like we did in New York and talk about what ifs with Aaron Donald. We'll get to it in just a second here on the Barbershop on Locked On NFL. All right, fellas, ladies, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rougiette. Throughout the NHL Finals, the Hurricanes made every shift matter. Every moment was intense, and everything comes down to execution, and they were able to pull that off when the pressure was at its absolute highest. And just like athletes, most must be ready to perform when the puck drops, baby. And a lot of guys want that same sense of readiness and confidence in their own lives too. I'm 57. I know what time it is. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers modern performance-focused treatments designed to help you be ready when it matters. Their top option, Rougiette Ready, is a fast-acting, clinically formulated treatment that comes in a simple mint form and dissolves under your tongue. It's designed for convenience and fast absorption, and effects can begin in about 15 minutes and may last up to 36 hours. Right on to that. Listen to me, man. Let me explain something to you. The reality is that most people don't want complicated routines. They want something that fits into real life and works without overthinking it. Head to Rougiette.com to get started. It's Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL, and you'll get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougiette, performance medicine for men. Locked On has celebrated its 10th anniversary. Matt Williams has been a big part of that. He was one of the original members of Locked On NFL. I love to bring that up because people start things and then we all pick up on it. David Locke started this network and we have all picked up on it, and we've been under the great leadership. And I am grateful for not only all of my partners, but all of our people like Matt, Ross Jackson, David Locke for the beginning. So many people in the back office as well. Mainly the fans, the guys that are here, guys and girls that are here with us each and every day, making it your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen and the confidence that you have in us to continue to give you the good content. All right, let's move from New York to LA. We mentioned John Harbaugh, rather, maybe doing something that we don't necessarily like. Jim Harbaugh has done a whole bunch that we like. They just had chopped liver on the interior of the offensive line, and he wasn't able to really get into it the way he wants to because that's a critical. Remember, he said offensive linemen are weapons. Well, the guys from Locked On Chargers will acknowledge that Jim has got this thing going in the right direction, even if it's a little slower pace than we think. Check this out.
But Jim Harbaugh getting hired, I mean, one of my favorite shows that we've ever done.
Oh, man, the anticipation was unreal. It was unbelievable. The fact that they were even in the hunt for him to be able to get him was massive to me. And when they were able to finally get the job done, it was emotional. I remember I broke down a little bit talking about it because, I love this team. I care so much about wanting them to have success and win. And I knew then that Jim Harbaugh was going to change everything when it came to this Chargers organization, and they absolutely have.
So it's almost like when he first went to Michigan. High expectations. They were perennial 9-10 win team, but couldn't get over the hump and couldn't win big games. Got in the playoffs and got smoked by Georgia. And it's almost like, oh, man, this thing ain't going to work. And right when you think it wasn't going to work, boom, championship. Built one of the best programs, had more players drafted than anybody. This is mirroring that, and I think they're about to turn that corner.
I lean that way too, and I think a lot of it's based on the offense. I mean, just if the O-line can stay healthy. I love the offensive coordinator hire. I'm still very, very much a Herbert believer, despite his playoff struggles. I think this could be the division winner, and I'm leaning more and more towards thinking Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in this league.
You know, I barbecue a lot, man. A lot of people want stuff that you cook real quick. Some of the best food, I got this technique I use with ribs. It takes about 5 hours. And then people want to bite their fingers off. So sometimes you got to let stuff cook and marinate real slow in order for it to last. And I think that's what's going on. Because when they look across town, and this is really across town, or maybe it's just right across the parking lot, there's another team that has it going. The Rams have been hitting on every single thing that they do, every risk that they take. Now they got Myles Garrett. And, oh, by the way, the football god said Aaron Donald is more likely to come back than not come back. Now you got maybe two goats sitting on the line together, man. Oh, boy. But what Aaron Donald are you getting? Guys from Locked On Rams will tell you.
What would be more likely, right? Like if you only could choose between the following two outcomes, which one would you bet on? That he comes back to the league and is the best player in football and wins a Defensive Player of the Year, or he comes back and he looks totally over his skis like, dude, no, been gone too long. That's not Aaron Donald. That doesn't look right. He's a step slow. He's not. No chance. No chance. You would pick the All-Pro 10 out of 10 times. That even if he came back and was 90% of what he was before he left, that's still the Defensive Player of the Year or very close to it. It's crazy. I know it's a pipe dream.
You asked me, you said, is he really coming back? Let me tell you something. If he comes back and he's anywhere near the Aaron Donald of old, watch out.
Oh, man. And so I don't think this is a top secret or anything, but he went to Pitt. Pitt and the Steelers share a facility. They share an indoor facility. I basically worked on both halves of the building. I'm down there a fair amount. It's not uncommon since Aaron has, and he gives a lot of money back to his alma mater. It's not uncommon as a retired player to see him working out by himself in the indoor facility still. And it is as intense as ever. I mean, I've seen him in there working out with knives and crazy stuff that he used to do. He looks phenomenal still. You know, I didn't sit there and stare at him or break him down or bother him, but you walk past for a couple minutes, he's going to be just fine. Yeah. Now, I think the difference will be, though, is they'll use him situationally. He'll play 30 snaps, and they'll be really good ones. You know, I don't think he's going to be out there every 1st and 10, you know, or if they have a big lead or, you know, they're losing by a bunch. I think you use them situationally, save them for the Super Bowl, the playoffs, when you need them most.
Matt, you make a lot of sense. And one thing people discount is they look at the physical ability, because James Harrison looks like he's still playing, right?
I've seen him recently too. Yes.
Yeah. So he left for a reason. Mm-hmm. And he's been gone for these last 2 years when the Rams were on the precipice of winning another championship. They've been pushing this thing late into the playoffs for 2 years, and that wasn't enough to bring him back. He could have teamed up with a young Jared Verse. This is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It sounds like he's willing to come back because now they have someone else who is expected to do the heavy lifting in Myles Garrett. If he would have come back, he would have been maybe in the way of some young guys that were trying to spread their wings a little bit and help this organization. But whether he comes back or not, you say you don't look at him very often. I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm going to get behind the veil. There's been a couple of times he's been working out on Instagram. Me and my wife, we lay in bed at like old people at night and watch videos.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Aaron Donald, and she goes, "Who is that?" It's Aaron Donald. About a week later, he's got his shirt off again. She goes, "Who is that?" I said, "None of your business." There it is, man. Don't worry about it. Now, Superman's right here. Don't be looking at him like that. You know what I'm saying? He ain't paying none of these bills. Hey, man, look, it's Friday. This is what we do. We have a good time here in the barbershop, and always a good time to deal with my man, Matt. Y'all have a great weekend, man. Me and Matty going to try to get to it out here. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you again for making the Locked On Podcast Network your team every day. We appreciate you here on Locked On NFL. We'll see you Monday. Happy 10th anniversary also to the network.